wait until you get your players and you go to a system that got Ruud van Nistelrooy 3 wins out of 4 before you arrived. I think what he's doing now is leaving Manchester United in a position where they are one of the easiest teams in the Premier League to beat. Now, I'll say this very quickly. I'm in the newspapers. I help to run a newspaper. I will never, ever come on the show and say that people should not speak. I'm in the information business. You know me. I used to be at your press conferences. I'm loving the fact that he is as open as he is, but it is proving to be his undoing.
Is he one of the best in front of the camera you've ever seen?
Absolutely.
Under the pressure of managing a huge club like Manchester United and having such a bad time, I think he's incredible.
Yeah.
And the worry is, he's such a good talker. Is that I worry when they interviewed the guy, is he such a good talker that he baffled them into giving him the job. I know what he done at Sporting was good. It was good, but it's a completely different level to the Premier League. So sometimes when they're interviewing, they're so good in the interview process that the job is just given to him because he talks so well. For me, he talks brilliantly. I agree. I think he's got charisma. I still think he's got charisma. But eventually, in the end of the day, you need to win football matches and you need to win them at Manchester United. You need to win them quick. He disarms anyone who asks him a question because sometimes you get tiptoed. I've been a manager and you come to interview me, Darren, and you ask me a couple of easy ones to hit me with a hard one. Straight away, he just tells the reporter how bad the team is, how bad the club is. He just disarms them. They don't have to tiptoe around him. There's nothing more degrading they can ask him than what he's already telling them himself. So he's very clever with it. But ultimately, forget the system and everything. He needs to win football matches. No matter how he's going to win them, there's this notion where he believes that the notion is that if he changes his system, it's against every principle. It's not. Let's look at Arne Slot at the moment. One of the best manager in the Premier League at the moment. It has to be. He changes from game to game. He changes. Now Ruben Amorim don't want to do it. It's his prerogative not to do it. But if you're not winning a football match, unfortunately, you're going to go and get another job very, very soon if you don't start winning. So
what does that do for you? Do you have more respect for him because he's sticking to his system, he's sticking to his principles, or? I
think he's wrong. Okay. I think he's wrong. It's up to him, though. It's, like I say, he's the man in the job. It's his head on the block. He's the one who's going to get relieved of his duties. But for me, I think you need to adapt. You need to adapt to what you have in the building and make them better.
You mentioned Liverpool. Liverpool looked at Amorim before they went for Slot. Imagine if he had done what he's doing with Manchester United with Liverpool, where he's trying to fit square pegs into round holes because it worked for him at his previous club. Slot has gone in and he's had the humility to say these are outstanding footballers who've done superbly well under the former manager. I am going to play to their strengths. I look at what Amorim has done with the Manchester United players and they look as though they're bereft of confidence. And the problem with Amorim now is that other teams will look at them and see that they are there for the taking because they can't score goals. They rely so heavily on Bruno Fernandes. Ahmad, who dug them out of holes against Southampton and a couple of teams, he's now out for the rest of the season. So you think to yourself, well, what is the positive from this side? There isn't one.
I think he's getting he's getting it easy at the moment. And I know he's getting some criticism, but I think he's getting it a little bit easy because he is a good talker. And where I've given him some leeway just to say, do you know what? The players, he's inherited these players and they can't play his way. I don't buy into that. You have to, even if you want to play three at the back, you have to find a way with the personnel you have in the squad to do better than what you're doing at the moment. There's absolutely no identity because when does he start taking responsibility for the result? It's not like the government. The government moves in now and they blame the old regime. You can't keep blaming the old regime. Sooner or later, you have to start turning it around yourself. It's different. If you're in a pyramid system, what we have here in the UK, when you're in League 2 and League 1, players can only play one way. When you're a 50, 70, 100 million pound player, you can adapt to play different ways, but it's up to the skill of the manager to organise you and get some patterns going forward. I don't see any patterns. I really don't. In Portugal, you can learn on the job playing games. In the Premier League, you don't allow us to do that because the competitive nature of the league is so great.
Darren, you used a term there, bereft of confidence. Is Rasmus Højlund the poster child for that at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that there's a lot of effort there, but it's not going his way. He's missing chance after chance. Very often he's missing easy chances. And as Tim will tell you, You've got to put an arm around his shoulder and maybe keep playing players like that. But I think the price tag, £72 million, the lack of return for that investment, I've said many times, I think that he should have been at a Tottenham and Aston Villa, a mid-ranking side, before you get to a Manchester United. We started the show looking at some of the warriors that played for Manchester United and Arsenal back in the day. Back in those days, he probably would have got in their reserves, maybe their development squad, but he would not have got anywhere near the Manchester United sides, plural, that we saw at the start of the show. But the decline of Manchester United is such that they are spending huge amounts of money on players who have done nothing in the game, and then everyone's expressing surprise that they can't perform.
Not only doing nothing in the game, no one else wanted him. You talked about Villa and Tottenham there. They didn't want him.
No, and they certainly wouldn't have paid £72 million.
72 million. You expect 72 million, which is overpaid for a young player. There will be other clubs in the fight for him. That's why you have to play over the odds. At the moment, it's not. I don't see it. I don't see it with him. I know he tries, he runs around, but it's Man United. Come on, I could try and run around. I mean, I'm a Man United player. I don't see it. I just don't think he's the future.
Yeah.
I think it was quite clear that that we have a liability there with the yellow card and the next action. So it wasn't the moment to take any risk and learn from that experience managing the game for so long, especially with how important this competition is. So yeah, a lesson to learn from him for sure. We will support and help him. But the line is really thin in the sport, and he needs to understand that.
Yeah, and he's obviously done so much good for you. Do you get the sense he's the sort of player that can learn quickly?
Yeah, because he's very intelligent. He's extremely demanding of himself, and that's a fine, by the way. And and I don't know. It's up to you guys. Up to you. Hopefully, you have that in place. I think so. So I think it's better for you guys to discuss with your colleagues. Dinner, yeah. Good dinner. So. But I know straight away his reaction is like that. He's a perfectionist. He's got a great environment around him, and they are here to learn as well.
We understand that Thomas Tuchel has a short list. It doesn't sound so short of 55 players. Would you expect both Ranieri and Marcelo Skelly, given their form, to be on that list? And how do you feel about that in terms of the next step of their development?
Well, I have no idea. Obviously, what I read and hear about, the noise that is around it. So, it's Thomas would take with his coaches the decision, and we will support it.
But obviously, somebody who's nurturing them. Would you like to see that? Would you feel at this point in their career that's good for them to be around a different environment?